Why is it that consumers are not allowed to buy their meters from the manufacturers? Because, I mean, the telephones, they'll tell you, we'll buy our phones, the network's configured, the fuel stations pump the fuel, DPR regulates. What is the difference? Why isn't that happening in the metering?
Well, the difference is very clear, and unfortunately, Mr. Sonson didn't bring it out very well. Meter is the invoice of electricity market. If, for example, customers are allowed to get a meter, there are three problems. First is issue of standardization. Today, they are claiming of a cloning of meter. There's evidence that some meters are being cloned, manufactured illegally. So if you have customers buy meter off the shelf, it creates a market for meter off the shelf. So you have problem of standard. The second problem is a meter is connected and integrated to the billing platform, which is IT-based. So if everybody mounts their meters, there will be a problem of synchronizing them, there will be a problem of their integrity. And thirdly, really all over the world, the meter belongs to the customer, to the DISCO, because this is a DISCO's payment system. The DISCO has to protect its revenue. I think what we should do about this meter problem is that if perhaps the DISCO should outsource the metering and billing to, outsourcing, take it out of themselves, so they focus on the distribution side of it. Because what we see is that the DISCOs, unfortunately, is too large when we privatize. And what that means is that you need to put many boots on the ground, dealing with several things: customer care, billing, and the metering. But if they can outsource this, if they can look for financing outside themselves, if they can embrace the local meter, and by the way, NERC is unshaken. We are remaining committed that local manufacturers must be patronized. And already we are planning a query against Ikeja. We've heard that they are dealing with a foreign meter, an importer. We want to make it very clear that you must have to provide evidence that the meters are not good, price is not good, or the quantity you want or quantity you want is not available. Otherwise, local metering. So if you can outsource that service, if they can give it off to other people to manage in a transparent and cost-efficient way, I think they do better to deploy more meters. The imperative here is to deploy meter. It will help them to protect revenue. It also helps customers, because we're going to be in a long night of low capacity generation. We're not going to ramp up to 30,000 in 2 years, in 1 year, and so forth. That means we have to sustain customer confidence, and the best way to do that is to give them assurance that even if we're not generating more, everybody pays just for what they consume. So I think the DISCOs are doing a difficult job. They are coming up better now, but really, instead of wasting our time doing PR, we should really focus on finding solutions to this problem. And one of them is we better start thinking about outsourcing the billing function. In many countries in the world, we're not yet developed to that stage. We have a unbundled distribution and retail. The retail side of it is run by different companies, but here we are bundled together. The DISCO should now think about how they can perhaps outsource some of the services, because you need to have intensity, boots on the ground, dealing with this matter. Financing, coming in. CAPME is one process. They can also leverage from the investors. They can also perhaps get some kind of government support. But essentially, it will take a long time, some years, 1, 2, 3, to meet everybody. But we want to see reaction begin. So far, they are falling far short of their metering commitment.
Mr. Amadi, if I may bring this here, if you said something about the ownership of the meter being that of the distribution company. Okay, but if the residents of different areas in Nigeria can go ahead, buy their poles, in some cases buy the cables, and sometimes even buy their transformers or fix their transformers, why can't they go and buy their own meters?
Well, they can buy their meter by paying for the meter. What I'm saying is that you cannot have it.
Sorry, but some have paid for these meters and they've not seen them. Several years down the line.
That's a problem. That's why we started, and when we start commencing enforcement action, we hear often this is a young infant industry. The regulator is running riot. But the approach is to say, please meter. Like now, we are saying the proposed capping estimation says, in the next 4 months, everyone who has paid for capping, meter them. Then, after 2 years, if you don't meter, or after 2 years, 3 years, depending on what your contract with BP is, if you don't meter everybody, whoever didn't meter will not be charged. Let's not forget that the law, the basic law in this regulation, this industry says, without meter, no connection. And the other says, don't do any new, you don't have to connect anybody without a meter. It's basic. Meter, unfortunately, in the last 20 years, we didn't do that. And now the discos have a legacy problem. It's not their making, but we now have to focus on it. See, the idea is CapMe provides for self-financing, but you can't just go to the shop and buy a meter because you're not sure you're buying the right kind of meter. NERC has a metering code that says the meter must be tested at the meter testing station, that provides for the functionality of every meter, that provides for the acceptable technical features. That's first safeguard. Second safeguard, we have certified installers to make sure that those who are installing are those who have the technical skills to install. Second safeguard. Third one, the discos themselves will receive this meter and integrate it into their platform and confirm that the meters are working, so that they do not just cheat it. They don't cheat the customer, and say that the customer does not cheat them. We must have to protect safeguards, and I don't think at this stage, going by all about Nigeria, that we should say that people should go to walk down to Walmart, or walk down to any shop in Abuja, Ifa Plaza, or anywhere in Lagos, and just pick your own meter, any meter, and just fix it in your house. That may lead to technical faults, fire, and other kinds of issues. It's not done, and it won't be done. But what will be done is another innovative idea, how meters can be made more available. Perhaps we can now say that the discos should identify meter sellers, those who sell their own certified meter, say these are the outlets for metering, so people can walk in and pay with a certified installer. We can be creative on those areas, but essentially, the whole process must be underwritten by integrity and by disco oversight, because it's a disco gateway to revenue, and we shouldn't compromise it.
Let me bring in this point. I mean, why is the NERC thinking about putting a ceiling on the quantum of consumption on metered customers can be billed by estimation?
That's a good question. Why? Three reasons. We tried with providing 2.9 billion naira for metering before the privatization. We've tried with CapMe. We tried with estimated billing. It didn't work well. And so we went back to thinking. And we say, perhaps, there's something missing here. We are not of a disco. This is human. Is for a disco to try to, make more money. That's fine. So if, as people claim, it's better to estimate than to meter, then that means we're going against incentive. That means as much as we give exhortation, meter, it won't happen. So we say, okay, fine. Let's do a scientific assessment of 6 months bill of many customers who are metered. And then we'll now see what their ballpark. This is actually, they can't pay more than 2,000 naira. So the idea here is, if you benchmark it slightly lower than what they would have paid by metering, the disco, whose incentive is always to optimize revenue, will have more incentive, assuming they're not being very passionate about metering. With this formula, they'll be more passionate to meter those customers who are now going to be capped. And before you cap, give them 4 months, 6 months period within which to go out and meter most of the customers, so that those who remain to be uncapped, those who remain to be unmetered are those who will be capped, and then within 2 years they could be able to defray that. So the idea basically is a presupposition is that if you take away the incentive, if you hit at that incentive by pushing back the burden on the discos, now if the customers who are saying give us meter, want to reverse that so that the discos will say come and take meter, because the pinching will now be on the disco side. But this is a proposition, is an intellectual way of solving a problem that is becoming more complex because of incentives that are driving behavior of people, customers, and of course the regulated entity, disco in this case.
All right,
so the proposal, welcome ideas, but what we want to do is to try to solve the problem of estimation. And the discos are not saying, now look, watch how it works. Discos are not coming up and say, well, we've not done well on estimated billing. Now help us use a big stick instead of capping our revenue. Sanction us for failure to comply with methodology. In the past, they were not complying. They didn't want to comply. Now they are saying sanction us because they know the impact of capping will hit the revenue. That's fine.
Thank you, Dr. Sam Amadi. We have to go. Thank you for talking to us today. We appreciate your time.